achieve success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne.
I've changed Paulette in a few seconds between
Just
our
like
stars
that.
now. I tell you.
Tidy and organised. Look at you.
Honestly. How are
So
you
there
anyway?
are. Yeah, not too bad. Sorry, we're a bit late, folks. We had both had issues, both different, but we won't go into it. Mine was very personal. Eddie's was very personal.
Mine was very
too.
personal. Very, very personal. I
His
must say.
battery's not working. I'm just
Yes.
not working. Full stop. But listen, it's great. It's great to be here. I'm about 60% on par, so I apologise if I let anyone down because I'm doing my best, but things still aren't 100%. So I'm a bit but Annie will pick up the bits where I fall over, I'm sure. So
Yes.
so yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Annie, for doing this again. And this is a really, really good topic, don't you think?
I think so. I think gratitude covers everything, right? Now it is the good, the feeling good, almost pill that we can take. That will
It
make
is. It's one
everything
of the
work.
few things that you both feel. So if you give, you get something, right? You feel good. The endorphins tell you that you're feeling good. Dopamine rush, feeling good, right? That's the good feels. And then when you give something, they feel good. So it's like one of the very few things in the world where you both win. So it's a win-win, which is, what we all want in everything, really. So what I wanted to talk about really was the rudeness of children at the moment. And this is very general, but I've come across quite a few children who have forgotten their pleases, their thank yous, they just have you got, and they take, or I've seen parents just hand things over before the kid's gone. They say, have you got, and they just hand it over. They don't even get a chance to say thank you or please or whatever, because parents are handing it over straight away. And in that situation, it was an iPad the kid wanted. So I sort of was thinking about this, and it really made me think about how I was brought up. And, maybe we were taught very much about politeness. And, even if we weren't, you could be the roughest kid in the world, but you still knew right from wrong. And you always knew that you said please and you said thank you, and that you always showed gratitude for when you were given something, even if it was something you didn't even like. Say it was a peanut butter sandwich and you hated peanut butter, but someone gave it to you, you'd say, oh, thank you very much, I'll eat it later. Right? You always showed gratitude. You never ever went, I don't like peanut butter, But nowadays, kids are so much more willing to speak their minds, and it's an interesting change. And I wanted to work out as scientifically as I could. There's a little room in my house. I spend a lot of time in there. I won't go into detail, but it gives me a lot of opportunity for research. And so I've been looking at studies that have been done about this exact topic. And they tell you that in order to teach children gratitude, you have to model it yourself. And I was like, that's it, isn't it? It's as simple, as clear as that. So if you want your children to be polite, they need to see you being polite. If you want your children to be kind, they need to see you being kind. And it goes on and it goes on. And you have to be consistent with it. So it's no good you just sort of waving your cup at your wife and expecting her to go make a cup of tea, or your wife waving her cup at the husband going make me a cup of tea or whatever. What happened to, will you make me a cup of tea, please, darling? Or would you please make a cup of tea? Or when the cup of tea comes, thank you. We have to remember that we are what the children watch. We are creating models of us. And if we don't like the way we're being, then better watch out for what you're creating, because what you do is a mirror image of what your children will do, and that's a fact. So one of the scientific research projects that I looked into was talking about learning to say thank you. It's one of the first social rules. Here you go, thank you very much. Here you go, thank you. And it's something parents teach you, say ta, when you give something, when you teach them. And so for good reason, thank you was probably the very first sort of gratitude you ever showed. That word ta, thank you, or the smile and the trying to say ta was probably the very first one. And then you add on to that like building blocks. So your appreciative signs, the appreciative signs are the smile, which you don't always get with autistic children like Ben. So you wouldn't always necessarily get a facial expression, but his eyes would be smiling. So it's, you just had to look for where the gratitude was sometimes, if the word wasn't there, if he wasn't being verbal. So again, it's about this learning about your children, learning about the things they're doing, and without being like, like I used to say with everything with Ben, once you taught him something, if you said to him, right, you must always say please and you must always say thank you, it's really important. And they say, right, okay, but he became the police, the please police, and the thank you police. So if anyone did anything, like, can you pass the salt, please? He would tell us off for not saying please. And likewise, any of his friends and the teachers and anybody else. So, there is a level where you have to kind of manage that expectation. Perhaps we don't say please and thank you every time, but it is important that they see that you do that. So the very first sign of, if you like, gratitude is that thank you. And the next one is when you go like this, hand, it's give me, I want, can I have? That's the sort of general sign for a child saying, I want that. So you would then be asking that child, do you want this? And then you say please, and that's when you teach them the second. Really, these are the second rules of social engagement. Please, thank you. And we have lost them already. We've already forgotten them. All right? They've gone. So that's the first part of my argument about why I brought this topic up, because I've been watching people myself, and then I have at the weekend we met some friends. We went down to Comfort Cases, and one of the comments that was made about the cases they make, one of the children that was doing D&E had said, well, it's only a case, right? It's only a rucksack, right? What's the big deal? What's the biggie? What's the biggie? What's the big deal about a rucksack? Because that child has never been without. That child doesn't know what it's like. So for them, saying this rucksack is going to mean everything to a child that's got nothing, they can't, there's no concept they can understand. And should we beat them up for it? I don't know. It's a kind of mixture feeling on that one. One of them is, did their parents never teach them there are people out there in the world that have got less? So that's really a parent issue. If you don't teach your children that they are lucky to have a roof over their heads, lucky to have food on the table, lucky to have, heating, all of a nice hot shower or hot bath or whatever, there are things that we take for granted. And if you think about that, granted and gratitude, they're very, very close in terms of the word. And I personally felt that when I was looking up the definitions, I kind of make my own up as I go. And I sort of said, okay, number one, you got to set an example. If you want to be creating nice children, be nice adults. Number one. Number two, point out generosity. If you see it, if you see somebody do something or you hear of a generous act, then say, wasn't that kind of that to happen? And the child will start to understand what generosity means. It means to give and that person to be grateful to receive. And that is an understanding of a word, but also the emotion attached to the word. When you have a chat with your children, try and have a conversation where you point things out about the world. So, not necessarily talking about third world countries and trying to make them feel guilty for having roast potatoes. I'm not saying go that far, but I am saying make them aware that the world is not fair. It's not kind. There are lots of places where lots of people have got a lot less than you. And that is a way of, they will learn gratitude through that because they will be saying to themselves, wow, I've got more than that person. I should be grateful for what I've got. And that is something that becomes an internal conversation, a bit like the Jack and Water stories. The voice that goes on inside will be, oh, I see that what's going on there. And yeah, that's what gratitude is. Yeah. Find fun ways to say thank you. Yeah. So you might end up with a situation where each family, maybe you'll even come and tell us, you might have different ways of saying thank you. You know, that can be a thank you. If you're in the middle of a game, right, and you're playing something really busy, right, it might be that you just put your thumb up, cheers for the coffee or cheers for the snack. You can't talk because you're in your earpiece talking to your friends. Yeah. So that might be a thank you, but it's still a gesture. It's something that you pick up as thank you. We know that thank you is the way that is spoken by the deaf community. You know, I'm not suggesting when you watch Strictly Come Dancing now they all go thank you with their hands. It's their way of trying to be a bit more inclusive because of Rose, who they had on the show that was deaf, that taught them all to say that. So there are different ways to thank you, and you can find out and make your own if necessary. You know, you can just make it something quite fun. Love. I talk about love a lot in my life. I always talk about love, but making a cake or cupcakes and sharing them in the neighborhood is love. We had an old lady down the road. We used to take cakes down there. I'm not saying they were always nice, but she was always very grateful for them. And she used to let Ben sit in the dragon chair that she had, and it was great. Ben made cakes. He got to sit in the dragon chair. What did he do? She was chuffed to bits to see Ben. He was only 4, and he walked down there with his little plate of cakes. You know, that's teaching a child as best as I could about this old lady doesn't see very many people, so what a nice thing to do. So show love and share love. And when you do that, you'll reap the results in tenfold. And helping kids to get connected in that respect is really important. Putting things into perspective, like I said, I don't expect you to thank me for the roast potatoes, but it would be nice for you to say thanks for the dinner tonight. It was lovely, Mum. Right? Most kids just eat the dinner, get up and leave. That's a key thing to remember. I think making gratitude part of their bedtime routine was something that a lot of the studies showed that children that either say prayers or meditate or have a quiet time, they might say, oh, what was the good things happened today for you? And what were the bad things that happened today? Before they're just going to bed, that might be a really good time to express gratitude because the teacher found your pen and it was really upset because you lost it. And did you say thank you? Of course I said thank you. You know, you just go reinforce it. Well done for saying thank you. And I'm really glad you found it. It's just about that reinforcement. So I am not here to preach. I am here just to give examples. But it's really kind of important that when we talk about gratitude, understand it's not a natural thing. We have to learn it, we get taught it, and then when we've taught it, we understand it. And that's kind of the way that it works. I want one example for you, and then I'm going to shut up. Yesterday, my son Ben, who you all know is at university, doing his masters. He's mildly autistic, very smart kid, but not probably the most emotional always. But this was something that happened. He read that Nestle were laying off, I think it's something like 15,000 people, and his cousin works for Nestle, and we're all very close, and he knows she's just moved to a London flat on her own, renting, and he was like, oh my God, if it's Yaz. So he phoned me and he said, Mum, is Yaz okay? And I was like, why, what do you know that I don't know? And he's like, well, have you heard about the redundancies? And I was like, no. He said, yeah, Nestle are laying off all these people. So I said, don't worry, I'll phone Jay, I'll find out. I phoned my brother, I said, is Yaz okay? He said, why, what do you know that I don't know? I was like, I said, nothing. I said, just phoned. I said, they're laying off all these people at Nestle. He said, they're shutting all factories. Yaz is fine. He said, was Ben worried? I said, yeah, Ben was really worried. And he said to me, I don't have any spare money at the minute, Mum, but I've got my ISA. And I was like, something in that moment made me go, oh, choked up to saying it. The fact that he would think about his cousin and was so worried about his cousin that he would try to help them. That is what I think is all about teaching kids to have kind hearts, to be appreciative of each other, to see when someone could be in trouble, offering support and help. And he's mirroring everything he's seen in his house. And that shows that I feel like we've done a reasonable job. And with a child that I was told would be, not able to show emotions, how about that? So that's me done. I just wanted to finish on that story because it really choked me yesterday. I thought it was really funny that both myself and my brother had exactly the same reaction, which was, "Why? What do you know? And what have you read? What have you seen? So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say and get sort of the points over for us to start trying to dig a bit deeper and understand, how every family does it differently. But I think there's nobody that's going to be coming to this room who isn't going to be saying it's really important to raise grateful kids. It's really important to raise grateful adults because that's what our kids will become. I think gratitude is a sort of superpower. And I think that kids that are entitled, and my son went to private school, and I've met many of those, they're going to find the world very difficult when they get into the real world. I think disrespectfulness has to be as much as possible. We need to work on that. I think children should be respectful of not just their elders, but each other and the world at large. Everybody has the right for someone to be polite to them. So it's a gratitude mindset that I'm trying to create, that you start off that you are in a gratitude mindset, then you'll always feel lucky. And from that point onwards, you then pass that on. So that's where I'm at. Any, have we got people in the studio?
We've got people here.
Bring them on in.
We've got people here in the event, so let's welcome them first, right?
Yeah, lovely.
Gratitude is the attitude, and it's a bit slow on typing on my phone. I'm trying. I could not do comments. Okay, there you go. Okay, superb. Joni's here. Right, look, I mean, there's a lot to it, Paulette. We'll come to that in a second. Welcome, Nat. How are you? How you doing, Melissa?
Hey.
Josh, good to see you.
Hi.
Love that picture. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Elizabeth, how you doing? It's
Hey,
been a while.
hello.
It's been a minute, as my friends say. Jay, we
Yeah.
see you. Welcome, welcome. Mr.
Hello.
Calm.
Hey.
Gratitude is boy's pill. I don't know what that means. It's a living spirit. Mm.
Well, it is part of your spirit for sure.
Yeah, so
You should
when there's
make
a
it
pill,
so.
okay, right.
I think
It's
he's
not,
saying it's not a
okay,
pill.
it's not a
You
pill, yeah.
can't take a pill it's a thing you've got to
Okay, yeah,
learn.
I agree with you on that one for sure, Michael. I agree. So teach kids and their parents not to believe everything they think is true. Now thoughts come and go like clouds, and above the clouds, the sky is always blue and clear. Yeah, it is. I was on a plane the other day, so I can understand. That's how to teach myself that the cloud is, it's not the end. It's not the edge of the world, right? Who am I going next? Welcome, Alavine. I see you.
Hi.
I miss anyone? Jay. Welcome, parents doing that to navigate conflicting bits of info online, social media, and chat GPT. Things that I grew up thinking are fine parenting techniques are now unacceptable. Yes, there's something there, Jay. There's something there. I'm
Yeah,
sure
definitely.
we'll come back to that in a second. So we want to be polite to our children as well. Yeah, you say we have to model.
100%.
The behaviors model, as you said, Paulette, is what kids learn. So Michael says it's a spirit that represents your emotional state. Yeah, you can even use it as an exchange transaction. I
It
give any
is.
thank you and add to your biggest star in a constellation. The next thing you're going to see is Emmy smiling and blushing cheek to cheek, so cheekbone to cheekbone. Oh, a Kodak moment for sure. Yes, Michael, quite. What we give, we receive, right? That's simple way of putting it. So.
That's exactly it. It is one of those interesting things that gratitude is one of the very few emotions that you do absolutely get something back when you give. So absolutely a win-win.
So welcome,
Charita.
Charito.
Hi, darling.
Long
Hi,
time.
Nicole. Hi.
Hi, Nick. Glad you have. I missed anyone? Christy, I see you.
Christy. Hello.
Welcome. So,
Aaron. Hi,
alive
sweetheart.
yourself. Glad you're here. So, Philip, I
Phil.
see you.
Hi.
Yeah, right. It's grateful to be here. Now we're grateful to have you here as well. Of course,
We're
Coach
very
K.
grateful. And
Coach
there's
K
the
is
lovely Kimberly. Coach K.
right.
Coach K in the house.
So now Philip says we need to focus our attention on what they gain from experience. It's a challenge. So that's why I'm in an hour. So Mike says life will usually present events that create gratitude as the most healthy way forward.
100%, Mike. Absolutely.
Sharon Rose, we see you. Welcome.
Hi, Sharon.
Cyrus is here as well.
Cyrus.
And I made sure I invited Sharon Rose because her gratitude is the attitude. That's what we're talking about, really, right? See, look.
Well, I said gratitude mindset, gratitude attitude. This is absolutely that. Absolutely that.
You see, I think gratitude is more than thank you and please. If you ask me, yeah, bless you. I think gratitude, being grateful is like is a feel good pill. I might say, Mike. Where I think it changes your mood, it changes your reality, it changes your experience. I think it's about finding joy. It's about finding joy, and rather than finding blame, a reason to complain, a reason to feel like a victim. I mean, when I think I think the trick is getting kids to truly be grateful to get all those benefits.
100%. Yeah. Children need to appreciate. That's the other word. The word appreciate is you know, if you've worked as a parent, if you've worked your butt off to buy them something, and then they just look at it and go, yeah, whatever. My friend's got 3 of them. You're gonna feel like absolute rubbish as a parent, but also you're looking at your child thinking, what have I created? You know, I've created a
Yeah,
monster.
yeah. You know,
Or you're,
but
you know,
in this day and age, there apparently are many monster kids. You know, there is something about
the
kids
studies say it.
kids not wanting to have basic courtesy, basic manners. You know, rebellion is not just rebellion. It's not just no. Rebellion is now off the charts. It's off the scales. You know, is social media to blame? Who knows?
I'll tell you this, Annie, one of the reports I read about parents texting because people are very honest when they do these university, they get
Mm,
asked by one of the universities, would you take part in our study? And they're like, oh, yes, let's do that. But what they don't realize is they're giving all this information away. And one of the studies, it said that there was 26% of parents admitted to texting their children to come down to come down to the bedroom, come down from the bedroom to
mm,
eat, or come down from the bedroom to say hello to a grandparent or
mm,
something. So a grandparent's arrived and they've not said hello, goodbye, or anything, and then they're asking, but they don't ask them to come down. They
mm.
text them. Can you imagine? That is to me, the most abhorrent thing I can think of. That's complete lack of communication. You can't blame social media for that. You
But
can blame
As Jay was saying,
the
the kid could easily take offense at being
phone,
told. You know,
and you can
are you
blame the
freezing?
fact that we're all using the phone. A text to
Mm.
come down to the room. Can you imagine what's going to be happening when the next generation happens? That's all they're going to do. They're never going to talk. It
Yeah,
will be,
we're there
text.
already, Paulette. Paulette, we're there. You know, I said, are we
Oh,
trying to hold back time when we can't? That's what I'm saying to you.
I think what we're trying to do is raise pleasant human beings that have respect. And
Mm.
if we lack that, then the world is in a very, very dangerous place.
I agree.
Um,
Of course, I agree. You know, say I have to agree with you because that's the truth, right? But say, look, you know,
yeah.
I know if you come, if you know, where can you come and stop, Paulette? Open your kid's door and say, "Granddad's downstairs. Come and say hello." Oh, that's harassment. That's abuse. You know, if you shout from downstairs, Jimmy, calm down. That's abuse, right? You are terrorizing a kid. I'm saying parenting has changed, as Jay said. Like what we used to be acceptable is now apparently criminal. That's the point I'm trying to make. Joni, please share with us. What's your take?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. You're looking so much better. I'm so happy
Oh,
that you're looking better.
yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Glad to see you too, Annie, and so many of my friends in the audience. And so, hello. I definitely am in the know about like that core group of kids, like elementary school, middle school, high school. So yes, definitely. I sometimes text them to come down because I don't want to scream. And then they have their AirPods in and they can't hear me or something like that. And it's just every parent I know, I think, does that at some point. Of course, I would love them being downstairs making dinner with me, but sometimes that's not possible. And they're listening to music while doing homework. And so, yes, I am guilty of that as well. But to a different point, I think gratitude does come from inside you, and it is joy. And so every day I try to do something. I don't want to say like juvenile, but something fun, so that I can just put myself back in that mentality. Like, my son is at my ex-husband's house this week, and but we still, he's too old for this, but we were building magnetiles on the phone together. And it was so much fun to build. It felt like he was 5 years old again. He was like, wait, put it on top there. He's like, I'm going to put mine here. And I was like, love it. But I do think that doing something fun for yourself, whether it be, going and get yourself flowers, or, going for just a leisurely bike ride, or, going to the pet store and looking at all the ferrets you want. I'm guilty of that too.
No.
And so, but I really do believe that gratitude is some part of joy, because when you don't have like some sort of joy or fun inside you, like you start getting snippy, or like you don't appreciate things as much. And I have two more things to say. First of all, my daughter's birthday was last week. She turned 14, and I cannot believe, I was shocked at what a jerk she was, because I raised her so much better than that. But we went out and got her nails done together, and she chose the most elaborate nails. They were $110. And I was like, if I ever asked my parents to get $110 nails, like they would have literally laughed in my face. And I was like, okay. And then she opened my couple presents, and she's like, well, that wasn't on my gift list from Giftful. And I was like, you know what, girl? Get out of the car. I can't. That is so rude. That is so disrespectful. That's not how I taught you to be. And then she got all upset at me. And when you're a divorced parent, you don't have that backing. So she goes into her dad's house, and her dad's like, why did you make her so upset? And I'm like, because she deserves to be upset. I just took her out to get her nails done for $110 plus tip, and gave her a really nice sweater, and gave her a nice pair of jeans she wanted. And she was so ungrateful. And I was like, this is not the kid I raised. And so it is challenging when you are divorced, that like you have different influences coming through. And I do know all of her teachers say she is so kind to everyone at school, and she has good friends and whatever. But I was like, whoa, I don't think I should be around you for the next 2 hours, because like I'm just so frustrated. It's her birthday, so like what can you do? I can't do anything. So anyways, but growing up, with my kids growing up with me, I certainly tried to model a lot, because how else would they know? Like, they know that, if someone's waiting at the end of the highway, like even if I only have $1 left, I will give it to them. They're like, why would you give that homeless person money? And like, because they don't have any money and I have $1. Like, and then Thanksgiving time, like we give away at least five different Thanksgiving dinners. And people just come to my porch and just pick them up, so it's not embarrassing. And it's something that my kids remember that I do with just my time that is important to me. And it's important to me that I volunteer at my, homeless intake shelter once a week. And my kids know that I give like 8 boxes of cereal away. And they know that now, which I just learned as a 42-year-old at the time, was that homeless intake shelters want cereal. They don't want soup, they want cereal. And so so I try in every way like, I don't want presents for Christmas. I want a letter. I want a letter for Mother's Day so that I have those collected. I don't want anything like that. And also, I do try to teach them to be grateful for the money that I do give them, and use it wisely. Don't just spend it on roadblocks. And my son, who is, I know I've talked about this so much, but he's like the love of my life. I love him so much. But for his birthday, I got him a little green light card, which is really the best allowance card here in the States. I don't know about the UK, but it has the option to invest. And so we had just the most grown-up conversation about the stock market and how to invest, and how even if it goes down, it'll come back up, and talking about what different stocks represent. And it was eye-opening for him. Just he's 10 years old, and he invested almost all his money. He's like, I don't want anything. He's like, I want to do this. This is fun. This is free gambling. I was like, okay, let's not call it that. But yeah, I think I have been on all sides of gratitude with children. And it's just not always, you don't always have to be perfect. You don't
I don't think anybody is perfect. I don't honestly think anyone is, and I don't think anybody can claim that they are. But what I would say is that, when you have a divorce situation like you do, you are always going to be compared. You're always going to have a situation where what you do and what he does is always, well, dad gave me a bit more than you did, or dad. But then in the house, if mum and dad are together and dad says no, then you go and ask mum, right?
It's just,
Mum, it's
but they can make the decision together if they're in the same house. Oh, what did mom say? Oh, what did dad say? Blah blah blah. My oldest daughter, she didn't want my old Honda, which I was going to give to her for free for her 16th birthday. She wanted, dad was getting her a new Tesla. And I'm like, well, I can't afford that. So, okay, fine. Go for it, girl. And, it is a different type of challenge. I'm not saying that all parents don't have so many challenges, but yeah, you have to just realize that you're human and you're doing the best you can do. So at least try to make yourself happy once a day, because
yeah,
kids
absolutely.
can be a lot.
Well, there's a thing, self-gratification doesn't necessarily have to be negative. If you fancy going out and getting a cup of tea and a biscuit, or going out and getting a cup of tea and a bit of cake to treat yourself, nobody's going to say that's wrong, because that's you showing gratitude for you. And that is a really important thing. And even just looking in the mirror and going, you know what? Okay, I might not look the best I could look, but I'm doing all right today. Give yourself those feelings that you're doing okay. It's too easy to beat yourself up all the time as I'm failing here and I'm failing there. What you got to do is go, well, I'm winning here and I'm winning there. Because it sounds to me like your little boy is totally on the page of being grateful and being kind, So it doesn't mean you've done anything different. You've done nothing different with him than you've done with your girls. It's just your girls are older.
The girls are different. They are a little bit harder. I know you didn't have girls, correct? And so girls are harder. They go through such emotion during that 13 to 18 time period. And so I've been there. I was not grateful. I remember one Christmas, I kind of pouted because I didn't get what I wanted. And I can't believe I did that. It's stuck in my mind forever that my mom was so upset. She went upstairs and cried. It was Christmas. I was like, oh my God, I'm the worst human. But girls do tend to be a smidge harder because as a woman, you like a young woman, you want more things. You want clothes, you want makeup, you want, stuff to make you look attractive to the boys at the high school, where boys are like, I don't care, let's get a video game, like, but yes, I definitely, I have fallen victim to all sides of everything, but I think it's so important, like, in your heart, like, if you have done your best, and
Yeah.
really, kids, they will get it. They will get it. If you've done your best, they will. I promise they'll come around at 22, 23 and like make you so proud. And my girls made me so proud at school, like all the time. And so it's just, they're allowed to have attitude with me, which I do not like, but that's how they feel. And so it's is what it is.
But if they're kind and the teachers are commenting on what pleasant children they are at school, or young women, and that they've got lots of friends, then they must be doing all those things we talk about at school, but at home it's a bit like, it's just mum. We can treat her like that. And that doesn't make it right, but it means that's just the way that they are right now. And that could be a phase. Let's hope so.
Do you remember when you drop your kids off at nursery school and they'd be screaming and like attached to your leg and you're just like trying to kick them off? You're just like, oh, come on, like, please. And then the teacher's like, oh, they stopped crying right when you left. And I was like, okay. So kids can act their worst around you, but when they're around other people, they remember those rules and that sort of manners that you have instilled in them. And so, I'm always like, say your pleases, thank yous. Like if anyone ever gives you a ride home, you say thank you. I don't care if their car smells like ashtray. Do it.
Absolutely. I'd be grateful because otherwise you'd be walking. So you know what? That's the answer to that one, right?
I've had to do that. My school is like 5 miles away. And my mom's like, sorry, you acted like a little bee this morning. So you're going to be walking.
Oh dear.
I mean, I'm 43 now, so I can laugh about this stuff. But at 16, I was not laughing.
Coach K, she's in the house. Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good. Annie, can you keep me on a multi-screen? I hate this thing. I don't like to talk to myself. I don't join community things to talk to myself. I wanted to chime in because I was kind of in and out of the conversation, but I wanted to go back to what you were initially saying about what the topic was about, gratitude. And as I hear people speak, I realize I may have had my unadvantage may have been like my disadvantage may have been my unfair advantage in the long run because I became a parent so long ago and at such a young age that I had to program myself from the perspective of a child and a parent. So it gave me a totally different perspective. And so one of the things that I do to talk to my kids when I felt like that connection was being lost in terms of gratitude was like ask for their perspective, because a lot of parents automatically assume that we do what we were taught and we just assumed it was right, but then we bitch about our parents. And so at some point, some cycle breaking has to take place and say, okay, as a parent and as a child, this made sense and this made sense. And I think one of the things that we should cycle break is just telling kids to do stuff because we said so and actually start explaining to them why it's important. Like, absolutely, yes, we have to be the first model of the behavior, because when I just came in and I'm listening to Joni speak, it sounds like your kids is just like you were. So you're just getting yourself in return. And so if we don't do anything different, we're not going to get a different result. One of the things, I'm not going to share it on here right now. I'm going to share it a little bit later today. But I have this thing. It's so old. It's 26 years old. I got this when I had my first son, and I've never seen it again. But on the inside, it talks about it has a parent's creed, and it's the layout for character building, and it talks about what parents must do and how they must live each day in order to get that action through to a child. So I'll just give you one as an example for duty. When parents live and teach faith, children experience dignity and learn the value of duty. So that's an example. A lot of parents are not modeling what they think they're modeling. They're doing either what they were taught or what they think. And so I think there is a time when it comes to these children to actually say, what do you like? Like a lot of kids are really killing themselves, and they're appearing happy to their parents because as parents just want these kids to have gratitude. But like I want to use the peanut butter example you gave earlier. If a kid truly don't like peanut butter, I would absolutely prefer them say, thank you for the offer, but I actually don't like it. I actually don't like peanut butter, but thank you for offering it to me. This way, people that do like peanut butter, they get more of it, and I can actually use my resources or money on what their child does like. And so in a lot of these parenting complaints, I believe that a lot of parents say I a lot, or I this, or I that, or we want our kids to have what we didn't have. And that may not be what they actually want. In a lot of cases, they want our attention. It may not even be a gift. More than half the time, it's our attention that they want, and we think that we can buy their attention, and you absolutely can't. From me being a child of a mother that did not lack financial resources, but she absolutely lacked time. And so I had to look at that perspective and say, yes, I am here to protect and provide, but what's important to you? Because if everything is about how I feel, then I'm actually doing my child a disservice by inflicting the life that I believe they should have onto them. And they're hating me for it, and they're rebellion when they start being ungrateful, because it's like, wait a minute. And then I also saw a comment from his name was Mike. Tough love is still love. A lot of parents are just like you, Joni, where they're like, oh, my son is my absolutely love of my life and shit like that. I have 3 sons. And once upon a time, I absolutely thought that. And then I realized this is my fucking child, not the love of my life. Because then you get a warped relationship with your emotions being placed in the wrong place, and that child starts feeling the bear, not the bearing, but they start feeling the weight of carrying their child's emotions. And so I remember having a conversation with Izzy about a year ago, my goddaughter, because she was like, oh, she's really fortunate to have you. And it's like, absolutely not. As parents, we are absolutely fortunate to have these children, because number one, not everybody can have a kid. And number two, it's our job to mold their life. Like we were gifted from God the opportunity to shape someone else's life. They don't have that opportunity, but we do. And so gratitude starts with us. It doesn't start with the kid. It actually starts with us, because when we acknowledge the role that we play and what our responsibility is, and when we explain that and the importance of it to these kids, because at a point, at an age when they're really young, they don't need to know adult problems and financial stress. But as they get older and we start teaching the value of money and what is this and what is that, you show them and you break down, and you sometimes tell them no. Like a lot of parents, and this is even coming from a teacher perspective, from being in a school, I watch parents act like they can't tell their ungrateful kids no. That's a parental problem. When you can't tell a child no, that's not the kid, that's you. And it's like, I probably should have said trigger warning before I start splitting these words, but I think at this point, most people that hear me speak understand I'm probably a walking trigger for some. And I'm okay with that, because I know what I'm saying is not incorrect.
Okay. Do you have your LinkedIn on as well? The LinkedIn sound? Because you had a
Mhm.
double sound coming
There's
through.
there's an echo. There's an echo. I've muted everyone, so we think you've got your LinkedIn or
I
something
think.
else.
Do you have your LinkedIn sound on too?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. You were just like it was a double. When you get that annoying thing on the phone where you're like hearing yourself back.
I think it's my computer, to be honest. But I
Yeah.
don't think that it
So,
No
changed.
problem.
I'll say mute your computer, but you can't really, can you?
Mm-mm.
There was a very key point that I think to have a talk, and work out a perspective at a certain age, and it is only at a certain age where you can reason with children. It's when you can reason, the child will really, really take on board what you say. And so I once said to Ben, and everyone knows I speak about him a lot. I once said to Ben, until you finish that comic and read from the front page to the back page, you don't get another one. So he said, okay, okay. We're in the shop, and he goes and gets a comic, brings it up to the front of the counter where I'm paying for the few bits, and he puts his comic up onto the counter, and I said, oh, no, 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 no. I said, I told you, until you finish the other one, you don't get another one. So go put it back. And he looked at me and he said, is it because we're poor, Mum? And the lady behind the counter laughed, because there he was, dressed in his private school uniform. He was about 6, 7, about 7. And I said, no, it's not about being rich or poor, Ben. What it is principle. The principle was, we agreed that you finish one before you get another. That's the end of the conversation. And he was like, we did. Okay, no problem. And it finished there and then. Now, that is about setting boundaries, granted, but it was also about him being grateful for what he'd got. I wanted him to enjoy what he had and be grateful for it. Otherwise, it's just mounting up those comics, because ultimately, I mean, in hospital, I must have had 20 magazines. 20 magazines, and yet I read one, right? I had the concentration of a gnat. So I was handing them out
Wait,
because,
which one was it? Which one was it?
I kept Hello, but that's probably, I
Oh,
liked a bit of Hello. But the
mine would
thing
have been
about,
Gourmet Magazine.
oh, well, I did that one. No one bought me. I would have kept Gourmet too, because I like pictures, even if I don't cook.
It's
But
really just pictures. Yeah,
the
great.
thing is, though, I love looking at the pictures, definitely. But the thing that I was going to say is, it wasn't that I wasn't grateful for them, but by giving them to other people who didn't have them, I saw the gratitude in them, and I felt really good that somebody was going to get the benefit. So it is that two-way trait thing that we talk about. It's a trade. Here you go, that's for you. Oh, that makes you happy. Well, it makes me happy too, because I've done something that's nice. So when you teach, actually, that gratitude is about you giving and then feeling good about it, then actually children, just by saying thank you and please, and yeah, that makes them nice, respectful kids, but it's what's in their heart is really important. So for me, it's about trying to get into their little hearts and minds that what is important and what to understand. And yeah, they can't fix the world, neither can we. And we can't expect them to fix the world problems. But they should understand that somebody has this amount, somebody else has that amount, and somebody else has that amount. But you know what? If you've got this amount and you can afford to give somebody else something, you should. It's a way of, when Ben phoned worried about his cousin, that was just magical to me, because he's grown up with those kids and he feels the world like they're sisters to him. And Jack's like a brother. And, they're close. And he was so worried about her. And that means that something in him triggered that, oh my gosh, is she okay? I'm worried about her. When she hears that message from Jamie, which I'm sure she will be so full of gratitude for Ben. just grateful for him. Not that he did anything, not that he gave her anything, but that he thought of her. Don't we all just want that to be thought of?
Yeah,
Isn't that as important
it's
as
so true.
getting
Oh my
something?
God.
You know, to be
Yes, that is
thought
so
of
true.
is as important. Mother's Day, to be thought of, whether it's a card, a letter, a note, a phone call, whatever it is, a text message, I don't care. As long as they don't forget us, that's going to make us feel good, right?
Yeah.
That's about that. That's why I'm trying to say, yes, I think the needle has moved and we have kind of got to work to a different perspective. But I think there still has to come a point where we understand what is, and I still say love fundamentally is at the root of all of this. We can love with discipline, and we can love with, we can say to somebody, I love you, but that was really bad. I love you, but I really didn't like what you just did. What you just did was not what I expect from you, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. I just didn't like what you just did. That doesn't change how that child sees you as a parent, but it does make them understand that they did something that made you feel that you were less than pleased with them. And I think
Well,
you can discipline that way.
I know you may not have heard this growing up, but I guarantee a bunch of people listening heard this saying, um, I I love you right now, but I don't like you. I do not like you. That was like the worst to hear from my parents. And so yes, I got that plenty of times. I mean, I
Can
was
I ask you, have you used it on your kids?
no, I don't think I have. No, it made me feel so bad. No, I don't think I ever have. But I was
But
this
that
close. It was this close
emotion,
on her birthday.
but that emotion of showing somebody, look, what you just did was unacceptable, and you've acted like a spoilt brat, and
Mhm.
that's really not what I expect from you. That is enough to make them hopefully think later on, not in the moment. In the moment, they'll be like, whatever you're like, Mum, I don't care, get out of the car, whatever, right? But later on, in the quiet, looking at her nails, she'll be thinking, hmm, I dropped a clanger there. I bet you she will, because you've brought her up to understand right from wrong. And I believe that deep down, even though she didn't show it in that moment, she was a bit of a bad word, beginning with a B, she is probably very sorry. In the moment.
I'm sorry. She doesn't like being put in the position of having to feel sorry, but she's like, Mom, I'm sure you grew up and just because you didn't have Giftful, you still had parents who could buy you stuff. I'm like, what is actually going on? And I was like, what if I had no money to do any of this? She's like, then that would be fine, but you do. And I was like, I, I don't like where this conversation is going at all. Um, but I'm not going to talk anymore, but I did want to say I think showing people forgiveness is a really main player within gratitude for me, at least. People, adults, children, everyone makes bad decisions, or has not the right knowledge to make the right decision. Like, my daughter was like, oh, this boy was like yelling at all his girls in the stairwell, and like he was just like so obnoxious. I'm like, did you ever cross your mind to think about what's going on at his home? Like, why would he be acting that way? So that's really important to me. And I there's a lot of people here in Illinois that are in like jail for whatever, a week, it doesn't matter, that they made a mistake, but no, did they kill someone? No, probably not. And so I started like this little library fund for people there because they're like literally like sitting there with like a mattress, and they had to check through all the books to like make sure it's okay. But I'm like, look, just because someone did a mistake doesn't mean they don't actually feel gratitude from that mistake, because they get to grow. And they don't have the tools, and now they have some more tools.
Well,
So
to that, I would say thank you for giving them a library, because books are important and they should be there. But you know, we all make mistakes, we all fall and we all fail, and we all get up, and we if we've done it so many times, we end up in the clinger or the clanger or whatever it's called. But you end up there for a period of time, and then you change because you come out of that situation going, I don't want to go back there. One would hope. That's the purpose of it, right? The purpose
I
of
mean, it's like,
prison.
I don't want to go back there. I've never been there, but I don't want to go back there just because it's so dirty. But like, I just feel such empathy for people who just made a mistake, and like maybe their parents weren't like us. And so whatever, it's not really relative. But
Well, going back to gratitude,
God,
giving those books, those prisoners who, you know, young offenders, whatever, they will be grateful to receive a
I like
book
got a
that
DUI. They
they
drank too
will,
much, got a
right?
DUI.
What, you know, they'll be grateful to have that book. But
Yes. If they
you
let them have it.
equally, but you equally got something out of giving them
Oh,
that book,
I
right?
more so than
That's
anything.
right,
I
right.
remember I was there one day because I do like a little ministry there at the women's side of the jail. And this girl, she was 19. She was crying and crying and crying. She just looked like a kid. And she was on her fourth DUI. And she was so scared. Her parents wouldn't come get her. She was from like Chicago, so it was far. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm going to find you a book, because you're not going to harm yourself with a book. It's going to be fine. And so I did go and find her a book. And I just think that exemplifying that and telling your children those type of things is really important. And it's really important for you too, to make sure that you feel that gratitude. And that's it. I'm out.
Duties. Make sure that you tell your children those things. Make sure that they know when it's school holidays. Get them to come with you to the shelter, right? Get them to come with you. Get them to see a different world, not the Tesla world, the world where a meal is more important than a Tesla, right? And I think that when there is such a differential between their world and the real world, then they will suddenly go, oh, I think I might get it now, right? So when you have that conversation the next time, you say, do you remember where I'm going on Friday? Where I go to the shelter? Yeah. They're the people you should be thinking about when you're moaning about not having X, Y, and Z. Or do you realize that your nails cost as much as some people have to buy food for a week?
For a
Right?
month,
And I'm just saying,
maybe for a month.
I'm not trying to guilt them. I'm just trying to make them understand the reality of the situation. I don't believe in guilting people, but I do
Not
believe in making
guilting,
them
but exposing.
understanding reality, right? Pointing out reality. Nails, food. Some people get nails, some people get dinner. You know what?
Some
Grateful for
people
what
live
you've
in a
got.
big house. Some people live in an apartment. Some people don't have electricity all the time and have no
Exactly.
iPhone. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's the key. It's about trying to have the conversation, put a perspective on it. And Coach K's right. I mean, I can remember, I mean, bearing in mind we were very rich at one point, then we were very, very poor. And I can remember knocking on my next door neighbour's house and asking them if they had any bread, and them saying yes, they did. And then I said, do you have any butter? And they said, yes, they did. And then I said, do you have any jam? And they said, yeah, we've got jam. I said, can I have a sandwich, please? And they looked at me, and I was about 7 or 8. And apparently, my mum was mortified that I'd got the cheek to go and do that. But they made me a jam sandwich, and I was delighted. But I can remember being hungry and thinking, how can I resolve my hunger? We haven't got any food in our house. Maybe our neighbours will help me out. But I didn't just go around there and say, would you please make me a jam sandwich? I went through the ingredients just to make sure that they could give me what I wanted. And nobody was offended by it or anything. But my mum went round there going, I'm so sorry, she shouldn't have done that. Da, 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 da. And I was like, I'm bloody starving. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll do it
But
again.
Paulette, would you do that right now?
No, of course I wouldn't. But if you know what, if
So your
someone
mom
knocked,
probably felt that way. She's like,
but you know
"Oh
what? If somebody knocked on my door, guess what? Get a jam
I would
sandwich,
do it too, of
right?
course."
Exactly. So the
But
difference is
yes,
we've
that I
learned.
can understand
We
your mom's
learned,
humility on that. It's
she didn't want
that was
people
a
to
lovely
know,
thing that your neighbor did.
right? She didn't want her neighbors to know just how poor we were. And I just gone out and advertised it. We ain't got no food. Will you make me a sandwich? I mean, I didn't have a billboard or
Why
anything
she was
walking around
embarrassed.
telling people, but embarrassment. But the point I'm making is that, I was very grateful for that sandwich, and I wasn't very grateful for the smack I got for going around there. But I never would do it again. But as I said, if someone knocked at my door, sure, I'd make them a sandwich, right? But the key issue here about all of what we've discussed today, and the real point I want to get across, is conversation, communication, learning about perspective, um, making sure you're setting a good example. But even when you are setting an example, explain why. Why did I say he couldn't have the comic? Well, because he's got one. Make it very clear as to the why. Point out generosity. Let them see it for what it is, either your generosity or somebody else's. Generous acts need to be acknowledged, and it's good for a child to see that. Um, as I said, talking is key. Um, Finding fun ways to say thank you. I think that's great. I love little notes and little letters. I think that's a great way of saying thank you. And I really think that, when somebody holds the door open for you, let's not all be, I was going to swear then, but I stopped myself. We don't all have to be arrogant and go, excuse me, I'm a woman now. I don't need you to hold the door open for me. We can still thank you very much. If somebody chooses to hold the door, male or female, if somebody holds the door for you, then, show appreciation. That is gratitude in itself. And then they will continue to hold the door open for other people. And guess what? The next time, it's likely that you'll do the same. In the car, when someone lets you out, you go, oh, that's kind, thank you very much. Guess what? Next time you're in a queue of traffic, I bet you £10 that you would let someone out. And the reason you let someone out is because you're repeating the behavior that you just replicated, and how it made you feel. You want to feel it again by giving it to someone else. So it's an interesting thing about perspective. Um, Letting kids choose is a great way about confidence. So when they want to, I remember we saved Haiti in the kitchen by having a disco for all the children in the whole school. It ended up being in the school hall because it got too big, but it started off with 10 people in the kitchen. But he saved Haiti, for UNICEF, and he got a letter saying thank you, and he raised £147, but it was his own money. It was his own decision. He made that decision. I'm going to raise that money, and I'm going to have a disco, and they're all going to pay. And next thing you know is everyone got roped into it. But it was Ben's decision to do it. And that's a great way of showing a child about gratitude. He felt really good about raising the money. I mean, he didn't single handedly save Haiti. He thinks he did because he got a letter from UNICEF saying thank you, but that was just their very kind nature. But letting kids choose is a great way to help them understand, and getting involved. Like I said, getting them to come down to the shelter will make probably a little bit of an eye opener that they all probably need. And then finally, as I say, I think gratitude at bedtime has always been seen as a real positive, and giving kids the credit when they do something right, and when they are polite, and when they, when you hear really positive stuff at parents' evening or whatever about your child is always really friendly, really kind, really good to their friends or whatever, make sure that you heard that and you know that, and they know that you're really proud of them for it, because that reinforces it. And that's something I think is really important. It says, I've written here, be mindful of the fact your child may have their own way of expressing gratitude. Like I said, might be a thumbs up if they're in the middle of a game when you put some sweets or something down from, I don't know, biscuits, crisps, some sort of treat. They might just give you a thumbs up because they can't talk right now because they're in the middle of an important game of Smash or something. And tuning into that child's unique way of being thankful is really important. We did go through a stage of having a bit of sign language, more because Ben was quite non-verbal in a way, and he used to use, a language of his own, which was all kinds of different hand signals, polite ones. But it was his way of demonstrating gratitude, thanks, or wanting things, and then showing you the smile to say thank you because he'd got what he was after. I remember one particular child, and I finished on this story. There was a particular child that I got involved with, who was very fearful of the Bible, and their dad was incredibly religious and really did read the letter of the Bible to the word, and was very literal with it. And he told her that because mummy and daddy were now divorcing, that God would be angry, the devil would come, and he would probably burn their house down. And this little girl was very scared, and she was begging her mum to get back with the dad. And her mum was like, couldn't understand it because when the dad was there, they were out, they were arguing. When it's quiet and peaceful without the dad there, she couldn't understand it. But in a session with me, she told me that she was scared the house was going to get burnt down by the devil, because the devil was against marriage breakup, or God was against devil. God was against marriage breakup, and the devil would come. And I had to have a conversation with the mother about about that, and then she in turn had to have a conversation with her ex to say that he shouldn't do it. Anyway, moving on a few months, this mum got called into the same little girl. Mum got called into school. A girl was being really mean in the playground to another girl, and this little girl decided to go over and tell them that God watches everything, and God watches it, but so does the devil, and that the devil might burn their house down if they keep being naughty and getting into trouble. And the girls burst into tears, and they were about 6, 7, and they burst into tears because the devil was going to burn their house down. And then she got into trouble because she made the girls cry. Then it all came out what was going on, and then of course, again, it was about this taking the letter of the Bible to the point where I had to say to the little girl, the thing about the Bible is that some people can read it one way and get one thing from it, and somebody else will read it and get something completely different. And what I want you to do is you can still go to church and you can still read the Bible, but you have to listen to what the Bible tells you and what you take from it. And that's about the perspective. What perspective are you taking from the Bible? And if you take the perspective that God is good and the devil is bad, it doesn't mean that the devil is coming to get you every time you do something wrong. And so it's really important, again, back in my book, that fear is not used. And I think that when people use they call it the fear of God for a reason, right? So I had to teach this little girl that we were really grateful for God. We were really grateful for the Bible. We were grateful for church. And we loved church, and church loved us. And it was okay to go to church, and it was all right, and there was no problem. But she had to put a different perspective on the devil. The devil was there. He was a bad person and a bad thing or person, thing, whatever. But what we did was we just said, let's not let the devil be the most important thing in our minds. Let's think about the positives. So she was really grateful to me to try and put a different perspective on a very difficult situation. So gratitude is exactly the same. It's all about perspective. And what one person thinks is okay, somebody else is going to say it isn't okay. But I'm saying that if you are out there being kind, having manners, being polite, speaking up for yourself, there's no reason why you shouldn't do that, absolutely. But also being mindful of the reaction. That if you say to someone, well, I don't like that, that's not what I wanted, it's going to hurt the other person. If you get 3 of something at your birthday party, Ben was taught to always say thank you. And then when everyone had gone home, I would either take the other 2 and send them back, or I would arrange for them to be presents for other children and buy him something he did want with the same amount of money. So he would look it up in the book, see what it was worth, or on the computer, tell me it was $12.99, and I'd say, right, what would you like for $12.99 instead? And I'll put that in the cupboard ready for the presents for your friends when it's their birthdays. So there's always a way around it. Reasoning for me is kind of like the same as perspective. Perspective, reasoning, gratitude, manners, and being respectful. Gosh, if we had all of those things in a pot, what a wonderful stew it would be. And that's really what I'm asking. I'm asking us to think about all of those things in a hot pot and asking ourselves, can we create that in children? And I say yes. I say absolutely we can, but we've all got to work at it. So, Annie, what do you think? Mr. Osan,
You're
there?
accusing me of thinking again, right? I don't like thinking, so
You're
I'm all
thinking.
right. No,
You stay thinking.
let's welcome our
Coach
friend.
K, how about Coach K? Has she got an
We have
opinion
to
on what I
welcome our
just
friend.
said?
We have to go as well. We do have to go.
Okay, we'll go
And
as
we have to
well.
go, but I feel like everyone should like write down something they're grateful for right now, or just like in a
Whoa.
little note to yourself. Make yourself feel
Or
good,
even a note at the bottom of the
or
show.
on the comments if you want.
Yeah,
But
put it in the
don't
comments
embarrass me.
if it's polite. Coach K, what have
I'm
I
grateful
said
for last night.
Yeah.
yeah, none of that.
But
Keep it PG. Coach K, what have I said that you've thought? Oh yeah, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that.
I know I definitely agree with it. I wanted to add to the conversation. I saw someone put that there's no rule to parenting in the comments. And that's something that I've heard, that we've all heard for a very long time, which I agree with, but I would like to challenge people to say, there's no rule to parenting, but there's absolutely strategy to relationship building with individuals, and to remember that these kids are not just kids, they're individuals. And I really believe the more we see them, the more they will see us, because they are children that are dealing with things that we've never had to deal with in our life. Like even now, certain things they deal with, we don't have to worry about because of how we were raised and in the time and era that we were raised in. And I also want to say that oftentimes when it comes to gift giving and being ungrateful, there's a lot of parents that were raised not in abundance, that came from different financial situations. And because of that, our love languages may tend to be gift giving, when in this situation, to people that are born more fortunate, because I was fortunate that my mother was raised poor so that I wasn't. You get what I'm saying? And so I don't value money the way some people do. I value time and time spent and words of affirmations, because I understand the lack that money isn't the currency, the people is. And so I really want to challenge people to see these kids as just individuals versus kids, and ask them questions like, what's on your mind, what's important to you? Because just like us, if people cater to the things we like, we tend to bend a little bit more and speak a little bit nicer. And so if we see them as individuals and we speak into them and ask more questions than give out, I can't thank my boys enough for how much I've learned, how much better of a parent I am to them because of what they taught me. Like, people would teach you how to handle them or parent them, because my kids are all different. I have 3 of my own and 4 that are not biological. And with each one, especially the girls are night and day different from my boys, and they range from 6 to 26. And they tell me what they need when I listen. And so I think if we did more listening and less talking, this parenting journey would actually be a whole lot easier for the kid and the parent.
And so I think if we did more listening, 100% agree with you, when they're willing to talk. And that's the key. We've got to get them off their devices and into a communication mode. And that's the hard bit. But once you've got their attention, and I think once you start talking and you're talking and it's interesting, and they're like, oh, actually, yeah, I've got an opinion on this, and they'll start engaging with you, that device starts going down as far as the interest, and you start going up. It's like a weighted average. You're going up because you're suddenly saying something that is talking their language, right?
Yeah.
And the phone is not important anymore. I'm talking to Coach K, and we're having a proper chat, and it's important, right? Whereas I've had kids that have sat for half an hour, come for their session, haven't said a word. And you're taught as a therapist, that's okay. If they're not ready, that's okay. But because they've got the devices, it's not like they're just sitting there going, oh, I'm not speaking because I don't want to. They're sitting there playing their game because that's what they'd rather do than talk to me. So what you have to do is say, can I come and play? How does it work? What are you doing? And I ended up, like, what's that one then? What's this one? And it was so annoying that in the end, he put the bloody thing down and went, okay, let's talk. Because I was really frustrating him because he couldn't enjoy his game because I was poking at it and going, well, what's that do then? Why did that jump up there? Why did you do it wrong the first time? Couldn't you? And because suddenly I was engaging with him, even if he wasn't engaging with me, I was talking to his device more than him.
Mm-hmm.
But indirectly, I got his attention. And he put the thing down and went, okay, what do you want to talk about? And it was hilarious.
Yeah.
The way you win these situations is unique. Every single child is unique. And every way you win is unique. And it's learning every child's love language, every child's needs, every child's ways, all their odd ways and their strange ways and their secretive ways, and you learn all of this. And then you're ready for when there's a problem. Because you can say, oh, by the way, when I went shopping, I got those donuts you like. And they'd be like, oh, the ones I like, the ones you like. But there is a condition attached to the donuts. What's that, Mum? You got to have them at the table. No, I'll take them up to my room. No, you have them at the table. And then the yum yums sit on the table and they can sit there all day as far as I'm concerned. Because I need you to talk to me somehow. And if the yum yums is the way we're going to do it, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk over the yum yums, right? And we'll have mouthfuls of sugar and everything going everywhere. I don't care. Because if you're talking to me, you're with us. And you've still got an ability to tell me what your problem is that's making you slam doors, that's making you get all frustrated and angry. And after the third yum yum, they are so full of sugar, they can't help but talk, right? And that might be the way it works. And every child will be different. Yum yums work for one child, they're never going to work for another, right? But it's finding out what does work. And that is, as you said, your kids have taught you so much about you and about parenting and about who you are and what's important. And I think the same thing with all the kids that I've had in my therapy sessions and all the people I engage with. You learn something from everybody. And sometimes you'll be like, what? That won't never work. And then believe me, something will happen and you'll find yourself buying yum yums. And then you'll be like, I remember that conversation Paulette had. So, I think it's all about just trying to engage with your kids. And when you engage with your kids, you will get to the point where you can get to gratitude. I believe that 100%.
I think by class I created maybe an unfair advantage, and that's why I feel like I don't feel like, that's why I give it to adults and kids, and now I'm for sure it's a constant part of my intake, because I basically have people tell me all their favorite things that are not electronic the whole first two classes, so that as I deal with individuals, I put what they like in front of them, and we remove the electronics, and I find out that information up front. So if I need someone's attention, it's like, well, if you told me the truth, this is what you like. And so, like, I'll use my friend as an example, and this is an adult. He slipped up and told me that he loves Monopoly. It's his favorite board game. And so I set it on his in the living room table, where he normally will watch football or like be on his phone or do other things. I start sitting out non-electronic things that I know people like. I'm like, hey, you want to learn how to play this new game? Or I think I remember you said you like this. And that's the thing when I say about listening, because people will tell you certain little telltale things, and if we listen good, and I don't know if this is from my class or from my sales background, but you always listen to what people say, because they will essentially tell you how to sell them. And it's not about selling or inflicting or manipulating people with stuff they don't want. You guide it towards what they say they like. And it's not about selling or inflicting or manipulating.
I think that's absolutely, and I think although it's not about
an amazing idea. I just want to say, amazing idea. I love it.
I think it's perfect. And I think every time you find out something about your child that you didn't know, they love butterflies. Well, you know what? Could you imagine spending hours chasing butterflies and trying to catch butterflies so you can look at them, right? Or if you can't be asked to do that, you put them on the internet and you look on the internet. But ultimately, you're doing something together. And that is what this is all about. The whole thing about parenting, and parenting the best way you can, using technology, because let's be honest, it's there, it's not going anywhere. If you're using it for knowledge and you're doing something that's together, we're looking at butterflies together, then you know what? Hey, you're one. Because you're doing something together, and during the conversation about colors and butterflies and whatever, you might drop in, oh, I noticed you've been a bit moody recently. Everything okay? That butterfly's got attitude, don't you think? No. Yeah, look, it's got that face on it. It's got the face you pull. That's your attitude face. And they'll laugh. They'll find that funny. And then before you know where you are, you'll find out what it is that they've been holding back on. So it's just another way of doing it. And I think it's really powerful. So, Annie, I know you want to say hi to people and shut the room up. So over to you, sir.
And also, you can always say, the butterflies are so beautiful, and maybe we could go to the science museum where they have butterfly exhibit, which every city has that, like where you walk through the butterflies. And then you could say like, then we can go to the tattoo parlor and get a butterfly like mommy did when she was 17 and make sure it looks like total crap. I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding. I'm so kidding. Do not do that. But it's just silly.
Joni, you let some of the most toxic stuff fly out your mouth on the internet. I just want to tell you that. Like,
No,
I know,
girl. I know.
As a mug, though.
I like that about myself.
We're the only Americans out here. Can you please watch it?
Yo, I like what I do. I'll watch it.
Oh my gosh. Annie, I know you want to shut the room soon. Get on that phone and shout at Mercedes. Come on, tell us the story. Mr. Osong.
I'm still here. Okay.
Sir, you want to read out some messages and then we're going to go, right?
Yeah. There's loads of messages.
Lovely.
So,
I'll be busy later.
You welcome, blessing. You will be. You certainly will be, Calvin. And you're here as well, Francesca. I saw you somewhere.
Oh,
We're glad you're here.
thank you.
Gratitude.
Absolute gratitude to you, Francesca.
Perspective is important.
Oh yes, blessing. So right.
Welcome, Yolanda.
Hi, Yolanda.
There's no rule book to parenting.
If only there was. If only there was, it would be so much easier.
And I said, no. So I think this conversation, gratitude is the gateway to happiness. It's a gateway to all the other emotions. So you've talked about kindness, happiness,
and courtesy.
And it's worth passing on to our kids. I said the question that we're asking today is how, right? Yeah, I think I like the idea. Of course, modeling, I think, is a big one. I think also, showing our kids different ways that people live.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean going on? I think even with it can feel a bit counterproductive or counterintuitive. Take your kids on holiday, they will see that other kids live differently. So I think Mike mentioned that earlier on. Yeah. It was Mike went to Uganda, and so that trip towards gave me a lot of gratitude in terms of seeing how the other half live. And then you have a different perspective, right? No, so because I think this is more than just manners, but if a kid has gratitude, they will find manners. They find the good emotions in life. They find how to be calm and how to be happier. I think everything sort of flows from there, right?
Well, we always talk about emotional intelligence, and I think having good manners and having the ability to show gratitude and to be kind, generous, honest, all these things are not, I'm not teaching anyone to suck eggs here, but it's as obvious as it can be, right? We're talking about the stuff that we know, and we just got to make it fit the child so that the child can then move forward with hopefully the right positive spin. That's what I would say.
I think they get better results and build better relationships as well.
Yay! From Una. Where is Una?
No idea. Don't ask me. How would I know? She's
good morning. Wherever you are in the world, good morning. Una.
So Mike says another life event was reflecting on his past, on his post-quad bypass. I was grateful just to be alive. And the fruit of that gratitude is to be supportive and positive with attention and intention in the present. That's that's what gratitude really gives you, right? It's like, it is not, it's a lot more than just, manners. Even though manners are important, I hear you, Sharon Rose. But I think gratitude does differentiate us from those who are nice, who live a good life, who are living a happy life. That's what to those who live, you can have manners and live a miserable life. I still feel
Of course you can have manners and live a miserable life, but when you have gratitude and you feel that, like, I get a buzz, and I mean a real buzz out of giving. And when somebody says, my child's showing this behavior, that behavior, I'm worried about it, and I read that as a post, and I write a note saying, would you like one of my books? I have a few spare here. Tell me their name. I'll write their name in the book and I'll sign it and send it to you. They're like, what, for nothing? You're like, yep. Wow, thank you. But it's not just about, I don't see that as promotion. I don't see that as publicity. I see that as an act of service, that they have a problem. I can try and help solve that problem. They're grateful to me for sending it, and I'm over the moon to be able to do so. So we all win, and that's what I call it, a win-win. And I think gratitude is the one place where we all win, and it's really important.
I agree. I like how Sharon Rose puts it. On the emotional vibrational scale, gratitude is just under joy.
Absolutely.
It's impossible to be negative and grateful at the same time. That's
absolutely.
Exactly, it can change lives, right?
Yeah.
It can change lives. Yeah. But both of you talk with funny accents. That's you and me, I think, for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yolanda mentioned she likes our accent earlier as well. Yes. Mike, I like this. Gratitude prepares the mind to meet the heart.
Oh, Mike, you and I need to write a book. Yes, indeed, sir. Yes. Gratitude is so important. And when it meets that heart, it's absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Mike has a book with all his comments.
We should,
he
shouldn't
already
we?
Has
There's a book there, Annie. Mike's comments. It's called.
I mean, I would buy it.
He's got what? He's got 2 customers.
Mike's got poems. Mike's got songs. Mike's got knowledge.
I know Mike wrote me a song. It was beautiful.
Right. Yeah. So you talked to me about writing his book. I was talking to him about writing his book yesterday, if I remember rightly. So I'm not talking to him.
Well, of comments, I think is amazing. His comments are always spot on.
I think
Thank you very much, Cyrus.
So
peace and blessings. Yes, to love, gratitude, and respect. Josh, there's a song in there, my darling.
They all go together. So Philip, of course, we just see you. There's many more comments. So I've had to just go through as many of them as I can.
Please, that would be lovely. Yeah, we really must. Absolutely.
So I'm sorry that happened to you, Leah, to you, Joni. Definitely you're telling your stories. And there was one about Tesla being an absolute no-no, right? So Joni, your poem is beautiful. I played a song you made about me for my family and absolutely adored it. I'm grateful, yes.
No.
The rest of your day, Cyrus, you can live in joy.
I love Cyrus. I think he also makes such great comments. And so he is a friend of mine. So
oh, Mike, how could you possibly have self-doubt? Sir, you are amazing. I mean, amazing. And
you are amazing, Mike.
I would love for you to write a book, Mike. I would happily help you. And I know Annie could too. The poems, apparently you write as well. But the comments and the way that you are able to express yourself is verbally amazing. You hit the mark every time. So well done, you.
Yeah. So Josh says no 16-year-old needs a Tesla after her 16th birthday. I agree, absolutely.
Heck
So does
no.
Joni agree?
I agree too. I got at 18 a Toyota Corolla from 1983, and my sister promptly ran it into a telephone pole. So yeah, that was gone within the day. And so I don't think so either. Thank you.
We all agree, I think, Joni. We all agree. So welcome, Sandra. Like I mentioned you earlier.
Oh, Sandra, hi.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. Glad you're here. Have I missed anyone else? We can always do the so I'm the Una is in Indonesia, and it's in US somewhere, I think. Anyway.
Indonesia.
Right.
Sounds exotic.
It's the only place that came up. I searched it.
Okay, thank you. Sounds exotic. I shall have to speak to her in Una and say, "Where are you, Mrs.?"
She is exotic.
Yeah,
she
very. Alana is probably. I always say my model friend.
She
My
looks
model
like a
friend.
kind of a really yeah.
She's
like
my
a little
SJP,
exotic.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
She is. That is
She
so
is
true.
absolutely.
She is.
Eddie,
And
thank
hi,
you
Sandra.
for today.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop. Hi, Sandra. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a really, really interesting and always fruitful conversation. And something will come from today's conversation when you least expect it. And I will be very grateful and have huge gratitude that you use that something. And that's what this room's all about. Thank you, Annie, for your support, sir, as always. And yeah, don't forget the book.
Thank you, Natalie, as well.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. Natalie's always adding comments. So thank you, Natalie. So thank you to Joni. Thank you to Coach K. Thank you to every comment. I will get around to responding to all of them. And I really appreciate you. And I appreciate you, Annie. And I have gratitude for you, sir.
Likewise, Paulette. Likewise. You know, let's play the video. Let's play one of the videos so that the people can see about the Jack and Water books. A couple of minutes though. But enjoy. We'll talk later. Bye everyone.
Take care. Bye everyone. You're going to play a video.
Bye bye.